Kale had always walked his own path. In the bustling colony of Viridian 5, humans and aliens lived side by side, but social norms were strict. Everyone knew who was acceptable to marry, which alien species were considered safe, and which were frightening. Kale ignored all of that. From the moment he laid eyes on Thyra, he knew she was different. She was tall, her limbs multiple and strong, her skin shimmering in shades that made many human eyes blink in unease. To most, she was terrifying, a creature from a warrior race that had long been feared across galaxies. To Kale, she was fascinating. She moved with grace, her eyes intelligent, her presence commanding but not threatening. The announcement of their engagement spread through Viridian 5 like wildfire. Kale expected whispers. What he got was laughter. The colony's social elite could not stop mocking him. "They'll regret this," one of his human colleagues snickered at a dinner gathering. "She's dangerous. You'll never manage her." Kale simply smiled. He had faced criticism before. This, he thought, would be no different. But he also knew something they didn't. Appearances could be deceiving. Thyra, meanwhile, seemed calm in the face of ridicule. She didn't try to win over the skeptics with forced friendliness or sweet words. Instead, she observed quietly, learning about Kale's world, noting the customs and the fears. Her patience was remarkable. She had faced fear before, among her own kind. Survival required understanding danger without panicking. At the engagement party, Kale noticed every eye turned toward them. Children hid behind their parents, whispering about the scary alien bride. Adults shook their heads or smirked. Some even muttered prayers under their breath, as if Thyra's presence itself were unnatural. Kale's friends tried to persuade him privately. "Kale, think about what you're doing. She's not like us. People will talk, maybe even turn against you." "I've thought about it," Kale replied firmly. "I'm not marrying her to please them. I'm marrying her because she's extraordinary." His friends didn't understand. How could they? Their lives were built on conformity, on comfort, on fear of the unknown. Kyle had never been like them. For her part, Thyra seemed unaffected. She met every gaze with calm dignity. Yet in private moments with Kale, she showed a side that no one else saw. A gentle humor, a quick smile, a curiosity about human life. She wanted to understand them, but she also trusted Kale to guide her through this strange, critical world. It wasn't long before Kale's enemies, there were always some, began to plot. They whispered rumors that Thyra's species had a hidden agenda, that her loyalty was uncertain. The colony, eager for gossip, believed these lies quickly. Kale could feel the tension building, but he refused to worry. He had chosen Thyra not because of appearances, not because of opinion, but because of her mind, her spirit, and the bond they shared. Their first walk together through the market was an ordeal. Children pointed and cried. Adults averted their eyes or stared openly, muttering. Some even tried to approach Thyra under the pretense of welcome, only to freeze when she calmly, politely, yet firmly spoke to them in her own melodic language. The effect was subtle but unmistakable. Those who had been aggressive found themselves unnerved. Kale noticed it and smiled. "You handle them well," he whispered. Thyra looked at him with a small grin. "I have faced worse," she said. "It is not fear that makes them hesitate. It is respect, and eventually understanding." Kale admired her even more. Most people couldn't see beyond her appearance. They judged, they mocked, they feared. But Kale knew that the real Thyra was not the frightening creature they imagined. She was a being of intelligence, courage, and insight, a partner unlike any other. That night, as the twin moons of Viridian 5 rose in the sky, Kale and Thyra sat on a quiet balcony overlooking the colony. The hum of engines and distant chatter filled the air, but here they found peace. "You know," Kale said softly, "they will never understand why I chose you." "Not yet." Thyra tilted her head. "They may never understand. But that does not matter. You chose me for reasons they cannot see. That is enough." Kyle nodded. He thought about all the laughter, all the whispers, all the judgmental eyes. None of it mattered. Not when he had found someone who saw the world as he did. Someone brave enough to be herself in a world that feared difference. Days passed, and the colony's whispers turned into open debate. Merchants refused to greet them politely. Officials questioned Kale's judgment. Even his closest friends hesitated before speaking to him. But each time, Kale and Thyra stood together, united. The ridicule, rather than weakening him, strengthened his resolve. He had chosen his path, and he would walk it proudly. Then came the first sign that Thyra was more than just unusual. She was extraordinary. During a routine inspection of the colony's energy grid, an unexpected malfunction caused chaos. Sparks flew, alarms rang, and workers panicked. Kyle rushed in, unsure how to help. Thyra stepped forward. With movements both precise and elegant, she analyzed the energy flow, her hands hovering over the circuits. Within moments, she corrected the fault, restoring balance. The workers stared in disbelief. Kale's colleagues, who had once mocked him openly, looked at her with a new sense of awe. Kale squeezed her hand. See? They are beginning to notice. Thyra's eyes sparkled. They notice only what is obvious. The rest, they will see when it matters most. Kyle knew she was right. The colony might laugh now, but their ignorance was temporary. Thyra had abilities, wisdom, and courage that no mockery could diminish. In time, the world would understand why he had chosen the scariest alien bride. And Kale had no doubt that when they finally did, the laughter would end, and respect, and perhaps admiration would take its place. Life in Viridian 5 continued as if nothing had changed, yet Kale knew it never would. The whispers about Thyra were louder now, spreading not just in the colony's streets but in its official halls. Yet Kale remained calm. He had chosen her for a reason, and every day revealed more of why that choice was wise. Thyra moved through the colony with grace, though her presence still startled many. Her multiple limbs, strong and precise, allowed her to carry heavy objects with ease. Her skin, shifting through patterns of deep violet and silver, fascinated some and scared others. But Kale saw what others could not. Beneath that intimidating exterior was intelligence sharper than any human he had met, and a heart capable of compassion beyond expectation. In the privacy of their shared quarters, Thyra spoke of her past. Our people, she said, her voice soft yet firm. We are warriors, yes, but not all of us fight with weapons. Some fight with minds, some with hearts. Many fear what they do not understand. That is why appearances are deceiving. Kyle listened carefully, intrigued. She had grown up in a society where strength was survival, yet she chose wisdom and patience. And you chose me, Kale said quietly. Despite the danger, despite how different we are. Thyra's eyes met his. I chose you because you are not afraid of what I am. You see me, not just my form. That is rare. Outside the colonies, people continued to speculate. Merchants who once mocked them began to whisper stories about Thyra's abilities. Some claimed she could read the intentions of others. Others said she had knowledge of alien technology far beyond the colony's understanding. Kyle did not dismiss these stories. They were true, though only partially. Thyra's full abilities were hers alone, and she revealed them carefully, only when needed. One morning, Kale invited Thyra to explore a section of the colony rarely visited by outsiders. The area contained abandoned structures, old alien artifacts, and strange devices left behind by civilizations long gone. This place is dangerous, Kyle warned, and most humans would avoid it. Thyra's many eyes glimmered with curiosity. Danger is merely an opportunity to understand, she said, moving forward with confidence. As they walked, she examined the relics. With a gentle touch and a hum of concentration, she unlocked their mechanisms, deciphered their inscriptions, and even activated a few devices safely. Kale watched amazed. To most, her actions would seem magical or unnatural. To Kale, they were simply a sign of her intelligence and skill. You see, she said, noticing his awe, We are not defined by fear, knowledge, understanding, and courage. These define us. My form may frighten, but my mind can help and my heart can guide. Kyle smiled. I've always known that, but others, they will take time to see it. Indeed, the colony had already begun noticing Thyra in small ways. Workers who had avoided them now gave respectful nods. Children peeked from behind corners, curiosity replacing fear. Even some of Kale's critics paused when Thyra walked by, sensing an intelligence they could not challenge. Yet prejudice was stubborn. Many still whispered behind closed doors, calling her dangerous or unnatural. Then came an incident that would test not just Thyra's abilities, but the colony's perception of her. A shipment of essential supplies had gone missing, and panic spread through the market. Rumors flew that smugglers had struck again. Kyle and Thyra were asked to investigate, more out of desperation than trust. Thyra approached the scene calmly. Her limbs moved with precise coordination as she examined the area. She noticed tracks others missed, subtle disturbances in the air, and patterns in the behavior of nearby workers. Within hours, she traced the missing supplies to a small group of thieves hiding in an abandoned sector. Kale watched in admiration as she apprehended them. The calm of Viridian 5 did not last long. Early one morning, alarms blared across the colony. Red lights flashed along the streets and corridors, signaling an incoming threat. A marauder fleet from a distant star system was approaching, armed, and intent on raiding nearby colonies. Panic spread quickly among humans and aliens alike. Kyle stood on the observation deck, watching the distant ships appear as dark specks against the shimmering stars. He clenched his jaw, knowing this would be the first real test of his unusual partnership with Thyra. They are coming faster than expected, Kyle said, tension in his voice. We must prepare immediately. Thyra's many eyes scanned the skies. Panic accomplishes nothing. Observation and planning save lives. I will help. Kale nodded. He had always known she was brave, but he had yet to see the full extent of her strategic mind in action. The Colony Council gathered in the main hall, a mixture of fear and confusion dominating the room. Officials debated defensive measures, arguing over outdated protocols and old rivalries. Kyle noticed the lack of unity. They were leaders by title, not by instinct. Thyra stepped forward, her presence commanding attention without a single word. The room quieted immediately, the murmurs dying down as she spoke. Chaos will not protect us. If we coordinate, we can outmaneuver them. We must use what we have, not what we fear. The council members exchanged uncertain glances. Some were hesitant, wary of taking advice from a scary alien, but Kale supported her. She's right, he said firmly. Thyra understands strategy that goes beyond any manual. We need to trust her. Reluctantly, the council agreed to follow her plan. Thyra divided the colony's defenses into teams, assigning humans and aliens to positions that maximized their strengths. She combined their knowledge with her own understanding of alien combat tactics, creating a defense strategy that was both clever and unpredictable. As the marauder ships approached, Kale watched in awe. Thyra moved through the command center, with confidence, issuing orders that no human alone could have devised. She anticipated enemy maneuvers, directing defenders to weak points in the fleet while protecting vulnerable areas of the colony. Then came the first direct strike. One of the marauder ships fired a powerful energy beam at the colony's energy plant. Workers scrambled, unsure how to respond. Kyle froze, realizing the destruction that could follow. Without hesitation, Thyra extended her limbs toward the control panels. Her hands moved with speed and precision, rerouting energy flows and activating defensive shields that had lain dormant for decades. Sparks flew, alarms blared, but the beam was absorbed and redirected safely into space. The council gasped. Humans who had doubted her now watched with disbelief. Even the skeptics were forced to acknowledge her skill. Kale's chest swelled with pride. It's not just strength, Thyra said calmly, not looking up from the controls. It is understanding and timing. Fear blinds most. Knowledge protects. Kale assisted where he could, coordinating teams and keeping morale high. Beside him, Thyra's focus never wavered. She read each situation as if the chaos were a simple puzzle, moving pieces into place with perfect accuracy. As the battle continued, another threat emerged. Marauder drones slipped past the outer defenses, attempting to infiltrate the colony. Many defenders panicked, unsure how to counter these agile attackers. Thyra acted instantly. With precise gestures, she manipulated the colony's security systems, activating containment fields that trapped the drones without harming their operators. The remaining drones, seeing their path blocked, retreated. The defenders erupted in cheers, relief washing over the tense atmosphere. Kale looked around at the colony's leaders. The fear and ridicule that had dominated their attitudes toward Thyra were gone, replaced by astonishment. Her actions had saved not only the colony's infrastructure, but countless lives. During a brief pause in the fighting, Kale approached her. "You've done more than I could have imagined," he said, admiration shining in his eyes. Thyra looked at him, her expression calm yet proud. "I do not seek admiration. I seek results. The world will notice eventually. Today, we protect lives." Kyle nodded, realizing how right she was. Applause or recognition was meaningless compared to the lives they had saved and the trust they had earned. As the Marauder fleet retreated, its commanders frustrated by the colony's unexpected defenses, the council and citizens began to whisper a new sentiment: respect. Thyra, the so-called terrifying alien, had proven her worth in the most undeniable way. That night, Kale and Thyra walked through the quieted colony streets, the twin moons casting gentle light over the rooftops. The colony was safe for now. "They won't laugh anymore," Kale said quietly, though he knew some would still fear her. "They will begin to understand." Thyra's many eyes reflected the moonlight. Understanding comes slowly. Some may never fully see. But today you have shown them that fear does not equal strength, and appearances do not equal truth. That is enough for now. Kyle took her hand. "You were amazing. I knew you were exceptional, but seeing it in action, it's something else entirely." Thyra smiled faintly. "Exceptional is not the goal. Survival, protection, and understanding, these are goals. Recognition is a byproduct, not the purpose." Kale nodded, feeling both pride and humility. He had always believed in Thyra's abilities, but witnessing them firsthand was transformative. She was not only his partner, but a force capable of reshaping perceptions across the colony. Over the next days, stories of her actions spread like wildfire. Workers and officials spoke openly of her intelligence and bravery. Children whispered of the alien who saved the colony. Kyle noticed the shift. Though prejudice still lingered, admiration began to replace fear. Kyle knew this was only the beginning. The colony would face more challenges, more threats, and more doubts. But with Thyra by his side, he felt ready to face anything. She had proven that courage, intellect, and heart could surpass fear, prejudice, and ridicule. And as he looked at her under the glow of Viridian 5's twin moons, Kyle realized something profound. The laughter and judgment they had faced before, this threat had been irrelevant. Thyra's true nature, the brilliance and strength beneath the frightening exterior, had finally begun to shine. For the first time, Kale felt certain that the colony would soon understand why he had chosen the scariest alien bride, and when they did, they would never forget her. The days after the Marauder attack were tense. The colony had survived, but the scars of fear and uncertainty remained. Kyle walked through the streets, noticing the quiet glances people gave him, and Thyra. Some were full of curiosity, others of lingering doubt. No matter the reaction, Kale felt more confident than ever in his choice. Thyra moved beside him, calm and deliberate. Despite the admiration that was beginning to grow, she remained vigilant. Danger could return at any moment. Her multiple limbs allowed her to handle several tasks at once, checking defenses, observing the colony, and still engaging with Kale as if the world outside did not exist. "The colony seems quieter now," Kyle said softly. Do you think they've accepted? Thyra shook her head slightly. Not yet. Some may never fully accept me. But they are learning. Every day perception shifts. We act as we must, not as they demand. Kyle smiled, admiring her wisdom. She was patient in ways most humans could not understand. That patience would be tested soon. The council called an emergency meeting. Rumors had spread that the Marauder fleet might return with reinforcements, and internal conflicts among colony officials were growing. Some still doubted Kyle's judgment in marrying Thyra, claiming her presence brought danger rather than protection. During the meeting, Kyle noticed several officials exchanging uneasy glances, their voices low and conspiratorial. They whispered about how dangerous it was to follow the advice of an alien whose appearance frightened most humans. Kyle felt a familiar anger rising, but he stayed calm. He had learned that confrontation rarely changed minds. Action, however, always did, Thyra observed quietly. Her eyes flicked over the council members, reading subtle cues of intent, doubt, and fear. They test us, she said softly. Some by words, some by actions. Our response must be precise and unwavering. Before Kale could respond, an alarm rang through the colony. A malfunction had occurred in one of the energy distribution hubs. Sparks flew, alarms blared, and panic rippled through the workers. Kyle's heart sank. This was the first true test since the Marauder attack, and the colony needed calm leadership. Thyra stepped forward immediately. Her limbs moved with efficiency, checking circuits, analyzing patterns, and rerouting energy flows. Kale assisted where he could, coordinating human teams to follow her precise instructions. Within minutes, the crisis was under control. The hub stabilized, and the colony's energy returned to normal. Council members who had doubted her abilities whispered among themselves. Kyle noticed the change. Admiration mixed with disbelief. Thyra had once again demonstrated skill and intelligence that far surpassed their expectations. Yet not all tensions were resolved. Some officials, embarrassed by their previous mockery, sought to undermine Kyle. They tried to assign him menial tasks, hoping to separate him from Thyra and diminish her influence. Kale saw through their schemes. He knew this was not personal, it was fear disguised as politics. That evening, Kale and Thyra walked through the Quiolony. They doubt. The morning air of Viridian 5 was heavy with tension. The distant hum of approaching ships grew louder each hour. Kyle stood on the observation deck, watching the Marauder fleet appear over the horizon. This time, it was larger and more organized than before, a true test of the colony's strength and of his unusual alliance with Thyra. They've come back, Kale said, his voice steady but filled with urgency. And they're stronger. Thyra's many eyes scanned the skies, calculating trajectories, observing fleet formations, and detecting weak points. Panic achieves nothing. We prepare, we plan, and we act. That is all we can control. Kyle admired her calm focus. Even in the face of imminent danger, she remained composed, her mind already strategizing. She was more than he had ever imagined. Not only intelligent and strong, but a true leader capable of guiding others through chaos. The council gathered again, but this time, there was no doubt about Thyra's authority. Officials and defenders alike looked to her for guidance. She instructed teams of humans and aliens, combining their unique abilities into a cohesive defensive force. Kale coordinated with her, ensuring communication lines stayed clear and morale remained high. When the first wave of enemy ships reached the colony, chaos erupted. Energy beams struck defensive walls and alarms blared. Many defenders hesitated, unsure how to respond to the unexpected formations of the Marauder fleet. Kale's heart pounded, but he trusted Thyra. With precision and authority, she issued commands that anticipated every move of the enemy. Her multiple limbs operated control. Panels activate shields and direct energy flows simultaneously. She guided teams through complex maneuvers that no human alone could have executed. One Marauder ship fired directly at the central power grid. The blast threatened to cut off the colony's defenses entirely. Kale froze for a brief moment, but Thyra acted instantly. She extended her limbs across the panels, rerouting energy and absorbing the attack into protective shields. Sparks flew, systems strained, but the beam was neutralized. The council gasped in astonishment. Some who had doubted her openly now watched in awe. The workers cheered as order was restored. Kyle's chest swelled with pride. Thyra was not only defending the colony, she was inspiring it. Then came the second challenge. Stealth drones infiltrated the outer perimeter. They moved quickly, aiming to disable the colony's defense turrets. Panic spread among the defenders. Thyra analyzed the drones' behavior. "They predict hesitation," she said. "We do not hesitate." With a series of precise commands, she activated containment fields that trapped the drones. Others were intercepted by automated defenses she recalibrated in real time. Within moments, the threat was neutralized. Kyle watched, awed. Her abilities went beyond strategy. They were instinct, skill, and intellect combined. Every movement, every command, every decision was perfect. It was as if she could see the battle before it happened. The Marauder fleet regrouped and launched a coordinated assault on the colony's main transport hub. Supplies and reinforcements were at risk. Kale felt tension rise in his chest. This was the moment when every decision mattered. Thyra's focus intensified. She analyzed the enemy patterns, anticipating attacks and positioning defenders with flawless timing. She coordinated multiple human and alien teams simultaneously, adjusting tactics as the battle evolved. Her voice, calm but commanding, carried over the noise of alarms and explosions. Kale joined her at the command console, assisting with communication lines and deploying additional defensive units. They worked together seamlessly, their trust and understanding evident in every move. The Marauder flagship advanced, targeting the colony's central command. Thyra acted decisively. She activated a network of energy barriers and guided interceptors to the enemy fleet's weak points. The flagship, confident in its size and firepower, was caught off guard. Kale watched as it struggled against the defenses Thyra had orchestrated. With a final series of precise calculations, she redirected the flagship's energy beam back toward the enemy formation, disabling several ships without harming civilians. The Marauder fleet faltered, confusion spreading among their ranks. Kale could hardly believe what he was witnessing. The defenders, inspired by Thyra's leadership, fought with renewed courage. Humans and aliens moved in perfect coordination following her guidance. The colony, once a place of fear and doubt, now stood united, capable, and strong. When the final retreat of the Marauder fleet began, cheers erupted across Viridian 5. The UR colony had survived, not just because of technology or luck, but because of leadership, courage, and wisdom. Thyra had demonstrated abilities far beyond what anyone expected. Kale approached her as the battle ended. "You saved everyone," he said, awe in his voice. Thyra looked at him, calm and serene. "We saved them. Every life protected is the result of preparation, understanding, and action. Fear does not protect. Knowledge and courage do." Kale nodded. He realized that the laughter, ridicule, and whispers that had surrounded their relationship were meaningless. Thyra had proven herself in the most undeniable way possible, through action, skill, and leadership. Over the following days, the colony began to fully acknowledge her contributions. Workers and officials who had once doubted her now praised her openly. Children spoke of the alien who had led them to safety. Even the harshest critics were forced to accept that Kale's choice had been wise and courageous. Kale watched Thyra quietly, reflecting on everything they had faced. She had not only defended the colony but had shown the true meaning of strength, intelligence, courage, and heart. Her appearance had frightened many, but it had never defined her. The scariest alien bride was, in truth, the most extraordinary being anyone could know. That evening, as the twin moons of Viridian 5 cast their soft glow, Kale and Thyra walked through the streets. The colony was quiet but alive, its citizens alive not just in body but in spirit. Kyle turned to Thyra. "They understand now," he said softly. Thyra's eyes reflected the moonlight. "Some understand. Some may take longer. But today, we have proven that fear is not power, and appearances are not truth. That is enough." Kyle held her hand, feeling the warmth and strength she radiated. He knew this was only the beginning of their journey. Together they had faced impossible odds, changed hearts and minds, and shown that courage and intelligence could overcome fear and prejudice. For the first time, Kyle felt completely certain the colony would never forget Thyra, not as a frightening alien, but as a hero, a protector, and a partner beyond comparison. And he, Kyle, had the honor of standing beside her, ready for whatever challenge came next. The dust had barely settled on Viridian 5 when Kyle and Thyra began to feel the full impact of their recent victory. The Marauder fleet had been driven back, the colony saved, and yet life was not simply returning to normal. Something far more important had changed. People were beginning to see the truth. Where once there had been whispers of fear and ridicule, now there were murmurs of respect and curiosity. The same humans and aliens who had mocked Kyle for choosing Thyra were now observing her with awe. Workers, council members, and even skeptical friends hesitated before speaking, no longer to criticize, but to understand. Kyle walked through the main square, holding Thyra's hand. Citizens greeted them openly, some bowing slightly, others simply nodding with admiration. Children ran up asking questions about how the scary alien had saved the colony. Thyra answered them patiently, her voice gentle, her limbs moving, gracefully to demonstrate small tricks that fascinated the young onlookers. "They are finally seeing," Kale said quietly, a smile on his face. Thyra glanced at him, her many eyes glimmering.
"They are seeing pieces of the whole. Complete understanding comes slowly, but each step matters." The council summoned them both to a formal ceremony. The hall was filled with officials, leaders, and citizens. Kyle could sense the lingering
doubt among some, but overall respect dominated the atmosphere. Thyra stood tall, calm, her presence commanding attention without demanding it. The head of the council spoke first. "Kyle, Thyra, your courage and skill have saved this colony. Your actions have demonstrated what many of us could not have imagined, that appearances are not a measure of strength, and fear does not define character." There were murmurs of agreement from the crowd. Some clapped quietly, others openly cheered. Kyle glanced at Thyra. She gave him a small, serene smile, as if saying that recognition was not her goal, but it was welcome nonetheless. Kale stepped forward. "We did not act for praise," he said, his voice steady. "We acted because the colony needed protection, because lives mattered. But I am grateful for your acknowledgement. Thyra's wisdom, skill, and heart have taught us all a lesson, that courage and intelligence can come in any form." The council leader nodded, clearly moved. "You have not only saved us, but inspired us. Your partnership shows what can happen when humans and aliens work together, respecting differences rather than fearing them." Thyra inclined her head slightly. "Respect is earned through action, not appearance. Trust and understanding follow. Demonstration, not assumption. Fear can be strong, but knowledge and compassion are stronger." The audience fell silent for a moment, absorbing her words. Then applause erupted, louder and more heartfelt than Kale had ever heard in the colony. It was not just for bravery or skill, but for wisdom, core,